It was a crisp October afternoon in 2019 when Sarah Morgan heard the knock. She had been folding laundry in the living room of her modest two-bedroom home in Portland, Oregon, the same house where she and her husband Michael had lived for the past 15 years. The same house where they had raised their daughter Emma, at least for the first 5 years of her life. Sarah glanced at the clock. 3:47 p.m. She wasn't expecting anyone. Michael wouldn't be home from his shift at Providence Portland Medical Center for another 3 hours. She set down the half-folded towel and made her way to the front door, tucking a strand of graying brown hair behind her ear. Through the peephole, she saw a woman, mid-40s, well-dressed, clutching what appeared to be a manila envelope. Not a salesperson, not one of the neighborhood kids selling fundraiser items. A stranger. Sarah opened the door, keeping the chain. Lock fastened. "Can I help you?" The woman shifted her weight from one foot to the other. "Mrs. Morgan? Sarah Morgan?" "Yes, that's me. My name is Diana Reeves. I'm sorry to show up unannounced like this, but..." Diana paused, her voice catching. "I think we need to talk. It's about Emma." The name sent a jolt through Sarah's body. No one outside their immediate family and close friends mentioned Emma anymore. Not after all this time, not after all the searches, the news stories, the flyers, the pleas on national television, not after 10 years of nothing. What about Emma? Sarah's fingers gripped the doorframe so tightly, her knuckles turned white. Diana reached into the envelope and pulled out a photograph, holding it up so Sarah could see it through the gap in the door. "This is my daughter Lily. She's 15. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. The girl in the photo had long, dark hair and hazel eyes, just like Michael's. The shape of her face, the slight dimple in her left cheek when she smiled. It was like looking at a ghost, or rather, looking at what a ghost might have become if it had been allowed to grow up. "That's not possible," Sarah whispered. But even as the words left her mouth, she knew. A mother always knows. She closed the door to undo the chain, then swung it wide open. "Please come in." Sarah's hands trembled as she led Diana to the living room. The half-folded laundry still lay on the couch, a painfully mundane reminder of how quickly ordinary life could be upended. "I moved to Saginaw, Michigan 10 years ago," Diana began, sitting stiffly on the edge of the armchair. "I adopted Lily when she was 5. The adoption agency handled everything. The paperwork said she had been surrendered by a mother who couldn't care for her. I had no reason to question it." "And now?" Sarah asked, her voice barely audible. 3 months ago, Lily needed a medical procedure. The doctors asked for a more detailed family medical history than I had. I started digging and found inconsistencies in her adoption records. Then last month, I saw your family's story on one of those cold case shows on TV. They showed pictures of Emma. Diana swallowed hard. The resemblance was undeniable. Sarah reached for her phone with shaking hands. "I need to call Michael and Detective Ramirez. He was the lead on Emma's case." As Sarah dialed, she looked up at Diana. "Does she know? Does Lily know about any of this?" Diana shook her head. "No, I wanted to be certain before I turned her world upside down." Sarah pressed her husband's contact. As the phone rang, she looked at the photograph again. 10 years of unanswered questions. 10 years of birthdays with no one to celebrate. 10 years of a bedroom frozen in time, untouched, waiting. And now, a stranger at the door with a photo and an impossible story that might just be true. Detective Carlos Ramirez sat across from Sarah and Michael at their dining table, his expression grave as he examined the photograph Diana had brought. After nearly 20 years with the Portland Police Bureau, Ramirez had worked countless missing persons cases, but few had haunted him like Emma Morgan's disappearance in 2009. The 5-year-old had vanished from a playground at Peninsula Park on a busy Saturday afternoon. No witnesses, no leads, just a devastated family and a case that eventually went cold. I've already put in a request for DNA testing, Ramirez said, sliding the photo back toward Diana. We'll need samples from both you and Lily to compare against. The Morgans. Michael Morgan hadn't said much since rushing home from the hospital. Now he stared at the photo, his face a mixture of hope and anguish. She has my eyes, he said softly, and Sarah's smile. We can't jump to conclusions, Ramirez cautioned, though his tone suggested he saw the resemblance too. But I've already contacted the FBI and the authorities in Michigan. We're reopening the investigation. Diana nodded, clutching her coffee mug tightly. I've brought all of Lily's adoption records. The agency was called New Beginnings Family Services, based in Detroit. They've since closed down. Ramirez made a note. That's consistent with what we see in some child trafficking cases. Agencies appear, process a few adoptions, then disappear. Sarah flinched at the word trafficking, but Michael squeezed her hand. What happens now? Diana asked. I have a hotel room for tonight, but I need to get back to Michigan soon. Lily is staying with my sister, and she'll start asking questions. We'll expedite the DNA testing, Ramirez promised. In the meantime, I'd like to ask you some more questions about how you came to adopt Lily. As Diana recounted the adoption process, Sarah excused herself and walked down the hallway to Emma's bedroom. She hesitated at the door, a ritual she had performed countless times over the past decade. Taking a deep breath, she turned the knob. Inside, the room remained frozen in time. A twin bed with a purple comforter, shelves lined with books and stuffed animals, a small desk where Emma had drawn countless pictures. Sarah had dusted and vacuumed regularly, but had never changed a thing, as if keeping the room ready might somehow bring her daughter home. She picked up a framed photograph from the nightstand, Emma on her 5th birthday, blowing out candles, her dark hair pulled back in pigtails. Could the teenager in Diana's photo really be her little girl? Michael appeared in the doorway. Ramirez is taking Diana's statement officially now, he said quietly. Sarah nodded, still holding the photograph. Do you think it's her? Really her? Michael crossed the room and wrapped his arms around his wife. I don't know. I'm trying not to hope too much, but his voice broke. She has my mother's eyes, Sarah, the exact same shape. If it is Emma, Sarah whispered, she's had a whole life without us. She doesn't even know who we are. One step at a time, Michael said, echoing the mantra that had carried them through the past 10 years. First, we find out if Lily is Emma. Then we figure out the rest. Back in the living room, Detective Ramirez was preparing to leave. The DNA results should be back within 72 hours. I've put a rush on it. He handed his card to Diana. Please don't leave Portland without letting me know. After Ramirez and Diana had gone, Sarah and Michael sat in silence on the couch, surrounded by the half-folded laundry Sarah had abandoned hours earlier. 10 years, Sarah said finally. 10 years of not knowing. And now we might finally get some answers, Michael finished. But I keep thinking about what this means for Lily, for Emma. Her whole life is about to change. Sarah leaned against her husband's shoulder. Do you remember what you said when we first started the adoption process? Before I got pregnant with Emma? Michael nodded. That building a family isn't about biology. It's about love. Diana has been Lily's mother for 10 years, Sarah said softly. Whatever happens next, we can't forget that. As night fell over Portland, two families found themselves connected by an unimaginable circumstance, waiting for science to confirm what their hearts already suspected. And somewhere in Michigan, a 15-year-old girl was going about her normal life, unaware that everything she thought she knew about herself might soon be proven a lie. The DNA results arrived faster than expected. Detective Ramirez called, early on the third morning, asking Sarah and Michael to come to the precinct. They found Diana already there, her face pale and drawn. "The tests confirm it," Ramirez said without preamble once they were seated in a private conference room. "Lily Reeves is Emma Morgan." Though they had prepared themselves for this possibility, hearing the confirmation aloud made Sarah gasp. Michael gripped the edge of the table, his knuckles turning white. "How?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "How did this happen? Who took her?" Ramirez opened a folder. "We've been working around the clock. The adoption agency, New Beginnings Family Services, was actually a front for a small trafficking operation. Based on records we've uncovered, a woman named Judith Brennan was the key figure. She worked as a part-time administrator at several parks in Portland during 2009, including Peninsula Park." Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. "I remember her. She used to give the kids stickers." "Brennan died in 2015, Ramirez continued. "Car accident in Arizona, but we've identified 2 other individuals involved in the operation. They're being arrested as we speak." "So what happens now?" Diana asked, her voice small. "With Lily? With Emma?" A family services representative named Ms. Chen, who had been quietly observing, now spoke up. "This is an unprecedented situation. Legally, Emma was kidnapped, and her adoption was processed using fraudulent documentation. But she's also been raised for the past 10 years by Ms. Reeves, who adopted her in good faith." "We're not looking to punish Diana," Sarah said quickly. "None of this is her fault." Diana's eyes filled with tears. "I've been thinking about this non-stop. Lily deserves to know the truth about who she is. But she's also my daughter. I've raised her since she was 5. I'm the only mother she remembers." "We'll need to involve child psychologists," Ms. Chen advised. "This needs to be handled carefully to minimize trauma." Michael, who had been silent, finally spoke. "We need to meet her," he said simply. "We need to see our daughter." 2 days. Later, in a quiet room at the Portland Child Services office, Sarah and Michael waited nervously. They had agreed to follow the psychologist's recommendation. This first meeting would be brief, and they would be introduced only as people who had known Lily when she was very young. The door opened, and Sarah's heart stopped. The girl who walked in was tall for 15, with long dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. She wore jeans and a blue sweater, and she looked around curiously, assessing the strange adults watching her with such intensity. "Lily," Diana said gently, "these are the people I told you about. This is Sarah and Michael." "Hi," Lily said, her voice carrying a slight Midwestern accent. "Mum said you knew me when I was little?" Sarah couldn't speak. The child she had lost and the teenager before her merged in her mind's eye. The same thoughtful expression, the same way of tilting her head slightly when curious. Michael found his voice first. "Yes, we knew you a long time ago. You probably don't remember us." Lily studied them carefully. "Sorry, I don't. But Mom says you have pictures." Sarah nodded and slowly opened a photo album she had brought. "This is you when you were 4, she said, pointing to a picture of Emma at the beach building a sandcastle. Lily leaned forward, genuinely interested. "Weird. I don't remember going to the ocean when I was little." The conversation continued, awkwardly, with Sarah and Michael sharing carefully chosen memories, while Lily listened politely, occasionally asking questions. After 30 minutes, the psychologist suggested they end the visit, promising another meeting soon. As Lily and Diana prepared to leave, Lily turned back. "Were you friends with my birth mum? Is that how you knew me?" The innocent question hung in the air. Sarah met Diana's eyes, a silent understanding passing between them. "Something like that," Michael answered carefully. "We'll talk more about it next time, if that's okay." After they left, Sarah collapsed into Michael's arms, sobbing. She Doesn't know us at all. We're strangers to her. She will know us, Michael said firmly. Not all at once, but she will. That evening in Diana's hotel room, Lily scrolled through her phone while Diana stared out the window at the Portland skyline. They seemed nice, Lily offered, but kind of intense. They kept looking at me weird. Diana took a deep breath. Lily, there's something important we need to talk about. Something about your past that I just found out myself. Lily looked up, instantly alert. What do you mean? It's about where you came from. Before I adopted you. Diana sat beside her, daughter, and took her hand. It's going to be difficult to hear, but I promise we'll figure it out together. As Diana began to explain, miles away in their home, Sarah carefully made space in Emma's preserved bedroom. She removed some of the more childish toys, wondering what interests her 15-year-old daughter might have now. Michael stood in the doorway watching. We're going to need to redecorate, Sarah said. If she ever decides to stay here, even just to visit, she'll need a room that feels age-appropriate. Do you think she will? Want to visit, I mean? Sarah ran her hand over the purple comforter. I don't know. The psychologist said we need to let her set the pace, but I hope so. That night, 3 people lay awake in Portland. Sarah and Michael in their home on the east side, and Diana in her downtown hotel room. Each contemplated the unimaginable road ahead, the delicate balance of truth and love, and the needs of the sleeping teenager who connected them all. 6 months passed. Spring arrived in Portland, bringing cherry blossoms and gentle rain. In the Morgan household, Emma's bedroom had been transformed. The purple comforter remained. Lily had said she still liked purple when asked, but the stuffed animals had been replaced with books about photography, her newfound passion. A desk in the corner held a laptop, a gift from Sarah and Michael for her 16th birthday. Lily, who now knew she had been born Emma Morgan, but still preferred the only name she remembered, sat cross-legged on the bed, flipping through a photo album. It contained pictures of her first 5 years, a life she couldn't recall, except in occasional fleeting fragments. This was my favorite stuffed animal, she asked, pointing to a well-loved teddy bear in one photo. Sarah, sitting beside her, nodded. You called him Mr. Buttons. You took him everywhere. I think I remember him, Lily said hesitantly. Something about his ear being torn. Yes, Sarah's face lit up. You were devastated. I had to sew it back on while you watched to make sure I did it right. These moments of connection had become precious to Sarah and Michael. The court had established a unique arrangement. Diana remained Lily's legal guardian, but the Morgans were granted extensive visitation rights. Every other weekend, Lily flew from Saginaw to Portland, staying in what was once her childhood bedroom. In the living room, Michael and Diana sat drinking coffee, their initial awkwardness having evolved into a careful friendship bound by their shared love for the same child. She's thinking about applying to Reed College, Michael said. It would mean moving to Portland after graduation. Diana nodded. She told me, it's a great school. She hesitated. I know it would mean being closer to you both. Diana, we're not trying to... She held up a hand. I know, but she's curious about her roots now. It's natural. She took a sip of coffee. The therapist says she's adjusting remarkably well, all things considered. The first weeks after the revelation had been difficult. Lily had cycled through denial, anger, and confusion. Learning the truth about her kidnapping had triggered a profound identity crisis. Who was she? Emma Morgan, stolen from a loving family at age 5? Or Lily Reeves, raised by a devoted adoptive mother who had known nothing of her traumatic origins? The answer, they were all learning, was both. In the bedroom, Lily closed the album and reached for her camera, a birthday gift from Diana. Can we go to the park today? She asked Sarah. The one where... She paused, still struggling with how to reference the kidnapping. "The one where it happened. I want to take some pictures." Sarah hesitated. Peninsula Park held painful memories, but the therapist had encouraged them to follow Lily's lead in processing her past. "Of course," she said, "we can all go." An hour later, the unusual family walked through Peninsula Park. Michael and Diana strolled ahead while Sarah watched Lily photograph the rose garden. The playground where she had disappeared was visible in the distance. "It's weird," Lily said, lowering her camera. "I don't remember anything about that day." "Maybe that's for the best," Sarah suggested gently. Lily shook her head. "Sometimes I try really hard to remember my life before Mom, before Diana adopted me. I get little flashes sometimes, like the teddy bear or someone singing to me at night." "That was me," Sarah said softly. "I used to sing 'You Are My Sunshine' every night before bed." Lily looked at her thoughtfully. "Could you sing it now?" Sarah's voice caught in her throat, but she managed to sing a few lines, soft and a little shaky. Something flickered in Lily's eyes, not quite recognition, but something close. "I think I remember that," she whispered. As they continued walking, Lily took pictures of the trees, the flowers, the winding paths. When they approached the playground, she stopped and raised her camera again, framing the swings in her viewfinder. "Do you know what I've figured out?" she said, still looking through the camera. "Everyone keeps asking me to choose. Am I Emma or am I Lily? But I don't have to choose. I get to be both. I get to have two mothers who love me and a father who never stopped looking for me." She lowered the camera and looked at Sarah. "The people who took me did a terrible thing, but something good came out of it too. I wouldn't have Mom, Diana, if it hadn't happened. And she needed me as much as I needed her." Sarah felt tears welling up. This remarkable young woman, wise beyond her years, was both the daughter she had lost and someone entirely new. "We should get ice cream," Michael called from ahead. "There's a great place just down the street." As they walked together, birth, parents, adoptive mother, and the daughter they shared, Lily took one more picture. This one captured all four of their shadows stretching out on the path before them, overlapping and inseparable. That night, after Diana and Lily had gone back to their hotel, Sarah found Michael in Lily's room, straightening the books on the shelf. "What are you thinking?" she asked. "About parallel universes," he replied. "In one, we never lost her. We raised her. She'd be different than she is now." "Better?" Sarah asked. Michael shook his head. "Just different. She's amazing, Sarah. Somehow, despite everything, she turned out amazing." Sarah leaned against him. "We have more than most people in our situation ever get. She's alive. She's healthy. She's in our lives. And next year, she might be just across town at Reed," Michael added. "Not the path we expected, but still a path forward," Sarah finished. 10 years after losing their daughter, a stranger had knocked on their door with a photograph. That knock had set in motion events they could never have imagined. Pain and joy intertwined, a family fractured and then reformed into something new, something unique. Emma was gone, the 5-year-old frozen in time in photographs and memories. But Lily was here, building a bridge between her past and present, creating a future that encompassed all the fragments of her complicated life. And for the Morgans, that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.